Hey guys, it's Libby and welcome to Venerable Fashions. This is my first time making a video on this channel in many years, and I thought I would jump back into things with the Costube questions tag so you can get to know me a little bit better and so that you don't have to go watch the videos that I made like 5 years ago, because they're probably bad and I don't want to go back and watch them. And as long as I don't watch them, I won't be embarrassed enough to feel the need to take them off of YouTube. This tag was originally created by the costumer, costuber, and cosplayer Alicia Estelle, and I will leave a link to her channel down below if you want to check her out. So the first question is, what is your channel's name and what is the story behind it? So my channel's name is Venerable Fashions. This is the name that I gave to my blog, and it's also the name I use on Instagram for my costuming stuff. So I made my blog probably in like 2010, and it is now defunct. Don't go looking for it. At that time, word meaning old and then word meaning clothing was a pretty common structure for like the blogs of historical costumers. So I kind of just went with that approach. I have recently been informed by one of my Russian friends that the word venerable sounds like it comes from the word Venera in Russian, which means Venus. So I guess in Russian there's sort of the additional angle of like fashions of Venus, which I kind of like, although that was not the intention. Question number 2 is, when and why did you start costuming? I started either senior year, I think it must have been summer before senior year of high school. My uncle was getting married. For both him and his bride, this was their second marriage, and so they wanted to have fun with it, and they were both regular participants and employees at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, and they had a really good time there, and they wanted to get married there. So we had a Renfest wedding, and I wanted to be dressed appropriately. So that's where I got my start. Question 3 is, how did you get into making YouTube videos? So I have another channel, which is just my name, Libby Stevenson, where I talk about books and reading. I have occasionally made some costuming related content over there. I will try to link the videos if you want to see that. So yeah, I started this channel a couple of years ago, made maybe 10 videos, that I didn't really have enough time to do all of that. But now, like, the pandemic has kind of rejiggered the way everyone's doing everything, and I think I have time in my schedule to be doing 2 channels. Wish me luck. What is your usual genre of costumes? Historical. I have in the past done some fantasy and some theatrical, but now I mainly just do historical, and I've recently started making some of my own modern clothes, but I don't consider that to be costuming. Question 5 is, how many costumes have you made? Which is a really difficult thing for me to count. So I don't like recreate one particular look. My main interest is in creating wardrobes. So like right now, here's an example of my early Regency wardrobe. So this is an open robe, which I wear over a white dress. I have another overgown that I also wear over that Regency little white dress. So like, does that count as 3 costumes? It's 3 garments, but 2 of them can't be worn by themselves. So I don't know, probably between 15 and 25 is the total number of costumes I've made. I've been costuming for over 10 years, and I started costuming when I was in high school, so like I wasn't even fully grown. So some of the stuff I made in the early days, 1, it's bad, and I don't want to wear it, and 2, it just wouldn't fit me because I'm like an inch taller. Yeah, so I don't know exactly how many costumes I've made. Roughly 20. What was your first costume? Okay, so my first costume was not an attempt to be historical. I got it was for this Renaissance Festival, and I knew, like, you don't gotta be historically accurate for Renfest. So I had the like simplicity, like Highland looking pattern, and I was very unoriginal. I basically just used the colors they had on the pattern. I don't know if I have a picture of this costume. If I do, here's what it looked like. It went okay. I don't think like it's an utter disaster. Like, I'm not completely embarrassed as long as people are only looking at pictures and not like getting up and examining the actual garment. I would say the two main poor choices that I make were to not press any of the seams. I was like, what difference does it make if you press the seams as you go or if you just iron the whole thing at the end? It doesn't make a difference. It does make a difference. And also, the bodice was boned, and you were supposed to put Ridgeline in there, or I don't know if they said Ridgeline, but I decided to use Ridgeline, which is basically very thin, sort of plastic wires with like fibers weaving them together. And I sewed the boning channels, the width it said on the pattern, which was about half the size of my Ridgeline, so I couldn't stick it up there. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna cut the Ridgeline in half to have two skinny Ridgeline pieces. This was a poor idea because they're like warping. So imagine like the bones in your bodice warping. The whole bodice is gonna warp. You know, it's a design choice. I was inspired by gnarled trees. I take a lot of inspiration from natural imagery. I think maybe it's you that doesn't understand art. 7 is, which costume is your favorite or biggest accomplishment? So normally my favorite costume is the one that I've just made. Right now, this is the costume that I've just made, or this is the garment that I've just made, but I haven't had a chance to wear it yet, so like I don't have any sort of good memories associated with it. Someone's at the door. So let me grab my actual favorite. So this is that other overdress that I wear over my little white Regency dress. It is based on the American Duchess pattern. It's a jumper. I'm using the American term jumper, which is a style that I haven't seen a lot, but I found it in a couple of portraits and I thought it was really interesting and I wanted to give it a try. My mom found this beautiful fabric that matched one of the portraits in like an SCA, at an SCA event, and she took a picture and I was like, yes, I want. So this is based on the American Duchess 1790s gown pattern. You can tell from that, the shape of the back seams. I think it's a very distinctive back shape. Yeah, just without the sleeves and with the bodice rather pleated rather than gathered. Or did they pleat it in the original? I don't remember. I wore it to a couple of events at the Jane Austen Festival Bath 2 years ago. It didn't happen. 2020, RIP, the year 2020. Question 8 is, which of your costumes do you like the least? I don't think I have an answer to this question. I try not to think negatively about the things I've made. Like, I definitely have some that I've made that aren't good, but I don't want to say like I hate it, or I don't want to, you know, especially when you get on into the stuff that you don't like. I don't think I want to exactly think about how much I dislike certain ones in comparison with other ones. So yeah, pass. Number 9 is, what is your favorite local place to go shopping for fabric and or other costuming materials? So despite my accent, I live in the city of Amsterdam. I moved here from Virginia about 4 years ago, 3.5. And my favorite place to go shopping for fabric is A. Balkenstoffen and Furnituren, which is kind of has like a Joann's range of fabric and costuming supplies. It's pretty like standard. It's got like a pretty broad array of different types of fabric. They got, you know, stretch, non-stretch, the super plush wools, upholstery fabric, fun cotton prints. They got pretty much everything. There is another place where I haven't actually bought any fabric from, but I have bought thread and I have admired some of the fabric, which is, I think it's just called the Dutch Quilt Shop. And they have like Dutch heritage prints. And whenever I decide to do some 18th century, some like mid to late 18th century, I'm definitely going to go there because I love those fashion plates of the Dutch women where they're wearing like 4 different prints, which are completely not matching in one outfit, and they somehow pull it off. 10 is, what is your favorite online store to go buy stuff from? That's definitely Renaissance Fabrics. I'd say probably half of my, costumes in current rotation are made from fabric from Renaissance Fabrics. Like this. This is the Venetian Red Silk Taffeta. 11 is commercial patterns, self-drafted, or winging it. I do a lot of different things because I do a lot of different eras. So I make medieval stuff, both like fitted and non-fitted, so sort of pre-1370 and post-1370. I've been doing a lot of early Regency lately. I make my own modern clothes, and right now I've started on an 1840s project. So like obviously for the medieval stuff, they didn't use patterns. Some of the stuff is literally just rectangles, so I guess in that case I'm winging it based on my own measurements. For Regency, especially for this early Regency stuff that I'm doing where it's a lot more based on 18th century dressmaking techniques, I definitely don't like to buy a new pattern for each individual garment. Normally when I'm starting a new era, I like to buy 1 or 2 patterns so that I have like somebody else giving me the idea of the shape. And then once I get confident with that pattern, I will either adjust it in crazy ways to get different looks, or I will say, okay, like I kind of know what we're doing here. Now I can bring this knowledge to a new pattern, which I'm either drafting myself or taking from something like Patterns of Fashion. 12 is, what is your favorite or most used pattern? So I guess technically it's the American Duchess 1790s round gown. I've made 3 dresses based on that. So we got this one, throwing the thimble on the floor, which is just done without the sleeves. We've got the open robe. See if you can see the back. So yeah, here you don't have that, like what I think of as the classic American Duchess, like sort of arches of the back seams, but they do have that on the lining. So the lining is the American Duchess pattern. Fortunately, I'm a very similar size to Abby, so I had to do almost no adjustments to the pattern. So you see the lining has those side back seams, and then I just draped the fabric on top of it, which is how you make a lot of 18th century garments. And then here's the last one, which is my obligatory Regency little white dress, which, I basically just straight up used the American Duchess pattern, but I changed the sleeves to better match the portrait that I was trying to do, and it worked okay. That's a lie. I was kind of going for like Mamluk sleeves. That's not what happened, but I think they're still kind of cute. 13 is hand sewing, machine sewing, or both. So for anything pre-1840, I do entirely hand sewn, because I'm a crazy person. You spend less money on fabric when it takes you 5 months to make a dress. So pre-1840, I do entirely by hand. I don't do the entire process by hand, so I do use the machine for the mock-up making, but everything on this, everything on the white dress you just saw, that's all done by hand. You get a Netflix subscription is my suggestion. Post 1840, so like in the 1840s, which I'm working on right now, I think most garments were still being handmade, but like the sewing machine had technically been invented. So I think I'm gonna do like time-consuming seams, like the side seams of a skirt. I'll probably do by machine, but like shorter, like bodice side back seams can probably be done by hand. So I think I'm going to do a mix. And then I'm not really interested in the 1850s or 60s. So then once you get into the 1870s, then sewing machines are pretty common. So I'm fine just doing that mostly by machine with the things that are sort of meant to be done by hand, like hems and such. 14 is historical accuracy, historically inspired, or both. I mostly go for historical accuracy. I'm kind of a stickler with my own costumes, but I just want to let you know that like I don't hold anybody else to the standards I hold myself to. So like if you don't care about historical accuracy and you want to make a lime green polyester hoopalande, I support you. 15 is, do you use vintage or thrifted fabrics? No. I don't know who would be giving me vintage fabrics. And yeah, I guess I normally have like a pretty clear idea of what I'm going for by the time I'm buying a fabric. So I wouldn't really just like wander around a thrift store, see a pair of sheets and go like, that's a robe a la Française. 16 is, what are your favorite fabrics to work with and why? Okay, so this is different than what are your favorite fabrics to wear. The answer to that question is linen. Favorite fabric to work with, so I work with a lot of silk taffeta, so I feel like we're kind of friends. But wool is just like so nice, so forgiving. If you get a broadcloth, you don't even have to finish your seams. It's really easy to like hide stitches in wool. It's a beautiful fabric. 17 is, have you revamped any old costumes? I actually have not. I have pretty much started from new each and every time. I'm not opposed to this, I just haven't found the opportunity yet. 18 is, how has costuming affected your everyday life, e.g. history bounding? Well, it's definitely made me more aware of textiles. So right now the shirt I'm wearing is polyester. I don't know if you can see the sweat stains, but there they are. So yeah, it's made me like, 10 years ago, if I'd been wearing this shirt, I'd been like, wow, like it must be a hot day. I feel really sweaty in this. But now this is the last all polyester garment, even mostly polyester garment that I think I'm ever gonna buy. So I know a lot more about like fibers and how to apply that to my modern wardrobe. And also, as I mentioned, I have just started making my own modern clothes. So I feel like, again, 10 years ago, if you'd asked me what's harder, making historical clothes or making modern clothes, I absolutely would have said historical clothes. I am embarrassed at how hard it is for me to make modern clothes. It's like this, easy. A pair of basic pajama pants. How do you do pants, guys? This is the craziest thing I've ever heard of. How am I supposed to finish a seam? I feel like a lot of modern seams are finished with sergers and I don't have a serger, so I'm having to sort of get creative to work around that. Whereas historical clothes, you know, they didn't have sergers either, so they had lots of strategies for dealing with that. 19 is, what part of making a costume do you dread the most? So normally the mock-up. It's kind of, man, I wish that all the commercial patterns just perfectly fit my body. I didn't have to alter any of them. Because I have like a kind of a weird body. I have a larger waist to hip ratio than most patterns provide for. I have broad shoulders. I have a short waist, so I have to make lots of adjustments. And I don't love it. Maybe that's why I've been doing so much Regency, because like waists, hips, none of that matters. Just gotta deal with these big old shoulders and we are ready to go. 20 is, what is your favorite part about creating a costume? Definitely wearing it at the end. 21 is, what is your favorite entertainment while you are working on something? So I, like most modern people these days, I think I'm interested in lots of different media. I listen to podcasts, I listen to audiobooks, I watch YouTube videos, sometimes costuming related, sometimes not. So yeah, I listen to all sorts of stuff. I also watch all sorts of stuff. I'm not a big movie or TV watcher, and I guess like by numbers, if you just want to know like what, you know, on an average day, what am I most likely to be listening to while I sew? It's either the 538 Politics podcast, because they release podcasts normally twice a week. So most of my other podcasts only release once a week. So statistically, they're the ones I'm most likely to be listening to. I also like to listen to opera while I'm sewing. I kind of want to be that sort of person who will like watch something related to what they're sewing. Like, you know, since I'm doing 1840s, I should be watching all the Jane Eyre adaptations. I just can't get myself into it. And opera was composed during a narrow enough time frame that it's usually not aligning. Also, there's like, should I follow when the opera is set, or like when it was written, or when this particular production is set? Some of them are set in space. I don't know what the big fad for setting opera in space nowadays is. I'm not saying it never works. I'm saying it normally doesn't. Do I need to start a third channel where I review operas? 22 is how many hours per week do you work on making things? Okay, this varies wildly. So I'm quite sensitive to sunlight in terms of my sleep schedule. I also have seasonal affective disorder, which means I have depression, which happens in the winter when there is not enough sun. I go into hibernation mode. That got worse when I moved to the Netherlands because I'm at a higher latitude than I was before. So like my daily schedule is extremely different depending on what time of year it is. So in the winter, when I'm not going through a depressive episode, I normally go to bed at like 10, wake up at 6. If I am going through a depressive episode, I'm probably going to bed at 10 and like waking up at 8. I sleep a lot more. In the summer nowadays, I can't go to sleep if the sun is still up. So I'm currently sleeping kind of 11:30 or midnight to 6, which is not enough sleep, and then I take a nap in the middle of the day because I work from home and can normally make my schedule cooperate with that. So I have like wildly different schedules. I also have more hobbies than just sewing, and I actually kind of have just slightly too many hobbies than I have time for. So sometimes I'm really into sewing and I'm working like 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. Some days I don't do anything, like some weeks I don't do any sewing at all. 23 is how long does it usually take you to complete a costume? Yeah, so again, because I don't do like full costumes, I'm not like, you know, doing a cosplay of like one particular person, and so then I have to make like undergarments, support garments, outer garments for that whole set. So I'm just gonna give you how long it takes me to make a garment. Again, this is really going to vary based on whether it is by machine or by hand, how big and elaborate it is, obviously, and also have I made the pattern before. So I feel like you get, the second time you're making a pattern, your speed doubles, I think. And then the third time, you're probably like shaving off another 5%, just as you sort of know exactly what to do with that pattern and you don't have to like go recheck the instructions. So I would say like a major garment. Oh my God. No, I'm not even gonna make up numbers because I don't track my costuming work. I have no idea how long it took me to make this. Zero clue. 24 is what is your favorite place to take photos in your costume? So the city of Bath, give it an A+, you guys. Thank you for hosting a Jane Austen festival there. 25 is summer or winter costumes. So I am the sort of person who prefers the winter. I was born on the winter solstice. I got winter for my birthday. Like I would rather be cold than be hot. So I just generally prefer the winter. So that's definitely biasing my opinion of the costumes. I think like I have a slight preference for winter costumes. Although I do participate in Penzic, which is the big SCA event in Pennsylvania in August, and kids, let me tell you, it can get hot up there. So I definitely make some extremely light, airy, summer-appropriate costumes, including, let me show you. So Penzic was canceled last year and is also canceled this year, so I haven't gotten a chance to try this out, but I have made a fitted smock and a unfitted sleeveless gown. This is based on a painting by, I do not remember the artist's name, from like, I want to say Padua or maybe Verona, the Venice area, in the 1370s. And it's a 2-layer garment, both made out of linen. The chemise sleeves show through, and it's supportive, so you don't have to like wear a bra under it or anything. And I am so excited because I think it's gonna be super comfy for walking around in that hot, hot August sun. 26 is, what are your favorite colors to work with? So I mean, the color I work with the most is white, because so many undergarments, and they are normally all white until you get to the Edwardians. I am very excited to one day make some of those extremely frou-frou Edwardian petticoats. Will I ever make an Edwardian outfit? I don't know, but sure as heck am I making some Edwardian petticoats. Yeah, so I like not only the colors that look good on me. I'm not sure how successful this yellow is gonna be, but we'll see. Yeah, I like red. I like mint green. I like most greens. Yeah, I'm a green fan. Also, if you care about this, my color palette is soft summer. So this means pink. So I think I need to be incorporating more pink. I recently bought some pink linen to make a skirt out of for my modern wardrobe, so maybe this will inspire me to use more in my historical wardrobes. 27 is, what are you currently working on? Okay, a bunch of things. For my modern wardrobe, I'm working on like a super basic button down the front skirt. So here's the panels. Oop, there's a pocket. It's at the bottom. Pocket. I have the waistband. Now I just need to attach those and then make a million buttonholes. What else am I working on? I knit as well as sew. So right now I'm knitting a pair of mitts. These are like 18th century mitts, which go into the very beginning of the 19th century. Most mitts, I think, or the mitts that we normally think of when we think of 18th century mitts, are made out of woven fabric. But they did also have knitted ones, and they would also sometimes adapt stockings that had like worn out in the foot. You just cut off the foot part, pop them on your arms, waste not, want not. Yeah, so I'm knitting some mitts. That's my current knitting project. And then I am also working on a turban cap to go with this overgown made out of the leftover fabric. I've really gotten to the easy part. I need to insert a lining, and I just need to like drape this bit, but with my hair done like this, it obviously looks extremely stupid. I don't know, I'm just I'm intimidated by trying to make this look good. So that one's on probation. And I'm working on something else. Oh, I just finished a bunch of petticoats for the 1840s. What is your next project? Yeah, I have like a couple little repairs that I want to do for some things for Jane Austen Festival, which is in September. But my next big project is an 1840s dress. I'm using the truly Victorian 1845 German gown pattern. 29 is, what is your ultimate dream project? So I have two. They're both, actually I think one's 1890s. One's 1890s and one is 1920s. So there's this like beaded Lanvin gown, which has like timbre work and a bunch of different types of beads, an insertion, like chiffon insertion, which really seems like it's gonna rip. I'm gonna make it anyway. This is beautiful and I want it. And then there's another dress. I don't remember the designer. I'll tell you. It's like a slightly 18th century inspired 1890s dinner dress. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want that? It's extremely pink. See, I'm going to incorporate more pink into my wardrobe. 30 is, do you have any other hobbies? Are they more significant than costuming? So yeah, I have knitting, which is very costuming adjacent, if not fully incorporated within costuming. I also do some embroidery. I'm working on a blackwork sampler for whenever I do tutor stuff. Other hobbies that I have are video games. I play a lot of Skyrim. It's been out for 10 years and I'm still getting more out of it. You gotta mod. You gotta get in the modding community, and then Skyrim is what it's all about. Other video games I enjoy are Crusader Kings. I'm still playing Crusader Kings 2. Don't feel the need to switch to 3. I used to play a lot of Dota 2, but since it updates so often and you like get worse at the game if you aren't constantly following the updates, I've kind of given up on that. I also enjoy reading and have a whole other YouTube channel dedicated to the books that I read. I'm doing a lot of William Shakespeare stuff right now, if you are interested in hearing more about the Bard. Number 31 is, what is your favorite thing about Costube? Man, it's so peaceful and zen. You just put on some nice videos of someone doing their stitches with some lovely music. It's also educational. Definitely steal people's hacks and ideas. Yeah, costume's great. 32 is, which is a message from my mom. 32 is, which 3 costumers will you tag? I don't know anybody. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I will see you again before too long.